All right, so today we're working all the way up to a current 1 rep max. Gonna see if we could do what's on the bar here, 440 pounds. Stay tuned if you want to see that. But also what we're covering through this entire video is proper form, cues, technique, and everything that goes into getting stronger and being able to lift relative to yourself, heavy weight. So stick around. Also, all this information can be found, and this entire 8-week program can be found in my school community, which there will be a link in the details of this video. There's also a link on my bio. It started with deadlift day. My days kind of ran into each other this week with it being a shortened workout week. My prime deadlift day and my backup deadlift day have kind of conjoined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to progressively overload to a 1 rep max on deadlift, and then I'll knock out some more of my back routine. And then I think I'm going to do a little bit of cardio in the pool today. But just starting off now, just getting loose, getting warmed up with the bar. That's really my warm-up is lighter weights with the prime workout I'm going to be doing. This way, by the time I get to the heavier weights, I'm nice and warmed up. I've done a few reps and sets, and I'm comfortable with that movement. If I were to just come straight out here and not saying go straight for the 1 rep max, but not do these lighter weights, I just wouldn't have the energy or the mobility to get it done. So that's my warm up. You could also add a little bit of cardio. When I eventually get an assault bike out here, that's probably what I'll do. Just 5 minutes on the assault bike, nice and easy. Get the blood flowing, wake everything up, and then get into the lighter reps of the movement that I'm doing for the day, which today is deadlift. Moving up. All right, moving up to 155 pounds. So I really like doing deadlift. You don't have to go super heavy if you're doing deadlift, but deadlift is kind of an important workout as you get older. It really hammers down that hip hinge movement, and the hip hinge movement is what we're using anytime we're bending down to pick stuff up. If we're pulling laundry out of the dryer, bending down to pick up our shoes, anything on the ground, picking up some bags of mulch because you're working on the yard, all those involve the hip hinge movement. And so how we work the hip hinge movement, big one is the deadlift, but then to get better at the deadlift, we could practice the hip hinge movement by doing good mornings, which I think I have in today's routine. RDLs are great for the hip hinge. Yesterday I was doing kettlebell swings, all great hip hinge movements. The stronger you get at these, the better you get at these, more than likely the less back pain you're going to feel when you're bending over all day in pulling weeds out of the garden or scrubbing the floors, whatever it may be, playing with the kids. Any of that stuff requires a strong lower back, requires a strong hip hinge movement. And that's what we are working today with these deadlifts. All right, moving up, we're gonna do 245 pounds next. All right, moving on up to 245. Before I get up too heavy in weight, I'm gonna talk about form just a little bit. Good proper form is how you stay out of trouble and keep from getting hurt. You wanna really perfect your form before you move up in weight. So if you're getting to a weight where something just feels off, if you look in the mirror or watch video and your back is super arched, or you're just off to one side, off-centered, struggling to pull it up, something doesn't feel right in your lower back, stop, go back down and wait, and slowly and gradually work your way back up to heavier weights. That's just a rule of thumb to keep from getting hurt. So I'm going to talk about my form. I'm going to do overhand grip with this weight, and then after this, I switch to the reverse grip. It's just easier to hold the bar that way. So I come up to my bar, I get my hands and feet. So I get my feet about shoulder width apart, and then my hands just outside of that. So for this, I'm basically at the edge of the knurling as it comes into the center. Like I said, I'm doing a double overhand grip here. There's a couple different grips. We'll just talk about double overhand grip now, and then when I switch grips on the next set. I'll show you what that looks like. I get the bar nice and close up to my body, up to my shins. This way I'm keeping the weight nice and close to me and it's not pulling me forward, causing me to get in an unsafe position to where I could easily strain my back. And then just like when you're lifting heavy stuff, you're going to be doing a lot of this lift with your legs. So I'm sure if you've heard when you're bending down to pick up a heavy box or something like that, you always hear lift with your legs, which is true. As the weight gets heavier and heavier, you're going to feel a lot more of that on your lower back. That's just because there's other muscles compensating, but we're going to lift a little bit with our legs. And then again, it's no matter what, it's going to be a lower back movement. So now what I do when I get ready to start my rep is I bring my legs down. So I'm getting myself in that eccentric, which is essentially using my muscles to help me lift this weight. And now I'm getting all that stored energy by getting down into the eccentric, and it's going to want to go back up to the concentric. So we're using our muscles the way they're supposed to be used to pull that weight up. You don't have to do it this way, but this is what I recommend. You just get down into the brace. Now I have that stored energy in there in the eccentric. As I hold it, it dissipates, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to hold it for a second. Come down, hold, lift with the legs, pull all the way up, down nice and slow. And you can knock out multiple reps. All right, again, so just make sure that what I shouldn't have done there was talk while I was pulling the weight up. You kind of lose your brace a little bit. You're going to inhale all that air into your stomach, essentially, to stabilize your spine. And if you're talking, then you're exhaling, and you risk losing that brace. Heavier weights probably would have put myself in more trouble. But it's as simple as that. Again, perfect your form before you move on in weight at all. And then slowly and gradually keep adding weight, keep making your lower back stronger, and it just pays off in all different aspects of life. All right, moving on to the next set. All right, so we're moving up in weight. We're up to 335 now, so it's going to get quite a bit more difficult. I'm going to be using the reverse grip. So what the reverse grip looks like is just one palm facing out, one palm facing back, and this just allows you to hold the bar a little bit better than with the overhand grip. There are warnings out there that this grip could cause bicep tear, which I'm not going to say it couldn't. A lot of things that you're going to be doing in the gym could potentially cause injury. The surefire way to get injured is by doing it wrong or bad form. But even with perfect form, you may find yourself in a situation where you injure yourself. So a way that we defend from tearing a bicep, we don't overall prevent it, but a way that we could defend it from happening is just by keeping your arms nice and straight. It's once you start curling your arms at the elbow there is when all that extra stress is getting onto your bicep. And when you're trying to curl, in this instance, 335 pounds, that's probably when you're going to be tearing a bicep. Something I didn't mention in the last example was just, I did talk about how I like to keep the bar up against my shins, but trying to keep that weight as close to your body all the way up and all the way down. That just helps you with that brace, makes the weight feel a lot lighter. And then as you let the weight kind of control you and pull you forward, that's when you put yourself in a bad position and end up lowering your back. So keep the weight nice and close to your body all the way through all the reps. Obviously, you got to go around your joints, but the closer you can stay to your body for the rep, the better you're going to be doing with this. So just a couple more warm-up reps here. Like I said, it's starting to get heavy. I don't know how heavy we're going to go today, but we'll bump up to probably 405 next, and then keep going from there. All right, moving up to 405. Like I said, this is getting heavy for me. Everything's relative, right? So 405 being heavy for me may not be the case for somebody else that's out repping 500 pounds. My deadlift has fallen off a little bit as of late. before I left California, I was doing 425 for sets of 5, which is pretty dang good for me. I just never got to the point where I was maxing out at the end of that cycle. Coming out here, I'm working with just this stiff bar here. So one of the cues is pulling the slack out of the bar at the beginning of the rep, which just means getting the bar to full flex before the weight comes off the ground. That way, everything's just not coming at you at once. So you flex the bar up towards you, and then the weight gradually comes off the ground. With this, the bar pretty much stays nice and level. You'll see maybe a little bit of slack come out, but all the weight essentially comes off the ground at once. And then, like I said, I'm putting a belt on. I recommend that you work out without the belt for whatever weights you can do that for. So if you were to follow my program, weeks 1 through 4, basically up to deload week, is when I would go beltless. And then because the way I start off the program is nice and light in the beginning, getting you comfortable with all the movements, and then gradually building up in weight. And then after week 4 is when I typically throw the belt on just for an extra layer of protection. The reason why we're trying to do some of these without a belt is because it really helps build those stabilizer muscles that are crucial for you. This is a little bit of a crutch, but a necessary one as you get up heavier in weight. It's just an extra layer of protection. So we're going to do 405 here, see how 405 feels, and then decide from there if we're going to keep going up. Try to pay attention to all the cues I've already mentioned. Make sure I'm doing them, especially as I get up here heavier in weight. That's when you tend to lose that form that you talk about at the lighter weights and get yourself in trouble. So let's just keep an eye on that for me. All right, we're gonna keep pressing up a little bit, just doing single reps now. All right, up to 415 right now. We'll see how this feels. And then kind of goes without saying that if it feels good, we'll keep pressing. If it doesn't feel good, we'll stay where we're at. You'll hear a couple different trouble areas for people when it comes to deadlift. 1, getting the weight up off the ground. 2, locking it out, so finishing up that hip hinge. Getting the weight up off the ground seems obvious. Obviously, if you can't get your weight up off the ground, then you can't lift the weight. You're just not strong enough. However, what that's kind of referencing is, or that kind of becomes applicable because for others, they could get the weight up off the ground. They just can't get that full lockout. So my issue has always been getting the weight up off the ground. If I could get the weight up off the ground, typically I could lock it out. If I couldn't lock it out, then I would want to be doing something like rack pulls, which is just load up the weight to just below the knees, and then you're just working on that lockout essentially. So you can lift the weight, you just can't get it up off the ground because you're in that extremely lower spine there, flexed position to where you're not exactly at your strongest. So mine has always been getting the weight up off the ground. Typically, if it comes up off the ground for me, I can finish out the rep. We'll see what 415 feels like here. I haven't touched this weight in quite some time, at least a month or so. So hopefully it moves. All right, we're going to keep moving up a little bit. All right, so we're up to 425 right now. If this weight moves, I'll be pretty happy with that. I know I keep talking about this bar, but the most I've ever done on this bar was 435, I believe. So 425, not too far off from that. Yeah, I hate to blame it on the bar, but obviously a stronger man than me can lift more weight on this bar. But when it comes to assessing your own strength, those are some of the factors that come into play. So if you're not hitting your own PRs, there's plenty of factors that could be preventing that. Equipment being one of them, and then yourself. Yep. A, you just may not be strong enough. B, or as strong as you used to be. B, rest, nutrition, hydration, all that stuff comes into play. But we'll see. We'll see how 425 feels here, and then decide from there if we want to test the max that I've done on this bar, or if we just want to leave it at that. Sorry, Dale. It felt pretty good. We'll probably go up again, see what happens. All right, I decided to load up 440. This may be too big of a jump, but we'll see. Why 440? Because I've never lifted 440 on this bar before. My own personal gym, so this will be a garage gym PR. That being said, if it doesn't feel right, then we're just not going to lift it, and we may be stuck at 425 for the day, which isn't bad. My overall PR, as far as like good form and what I can remember in my head, is 460, which I did, I think like last fall. And then I was working my way up to probably go much higher than that. And then we moved from California to here. Things kind of got off track a little bit. And now I've just been working with this bar. So 440 is heavy, once again, relative to me. For others, it's a pretty easy lift. Gonna try to make sure that all my cues I've talked about are in line, and try to safely pull this bar up off the ground. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We may or may not do a couple drop sets after this, and then get into the rest of our back routine. All right. Very happy with that. We're gonna stay there at 440. Awesome. Didn't think I was getting it when I first started yanking on the weight, but it moved. Maybe I think we're gonna skip the drop set. Happy with that. We're gonna go do some rows and the rest of the back routine. Thanks for watching. I'll make a short with the rest of the back routine, but that'll be it for today's long video.